All right, everybody, welcome in. This is episode 5 of From Baltimore to Orono. Before I start today's episode, I just wanted to start clapping because college basketball is finally back. Everyone that's listening right now, start fucking clapping because we're back. Let's go. College basketball is back. Let's go. We are back. All right. On today's episode, we are going to be breaking down each school's first game of the year. Last episode, which was 2 weeks ago, sorry about not posting last week. Was not feeling well at all, so sorry about that. But last episode, we got 81 viewers on YouTube. We crushed that goal. I was hoping to get 35. We got 81. We had 3 loyal Spotify listeners again, so shout out to those 3 people. Every week you guys are showing up and listening to Spotify, so shout out to you guys or girls. And then on Twitter, we are at 53 followers. Shout out to the 53 of you. And then on Instagram, we are up to 18 followers, so hoping to get to 20 before next episode. But also I wanted to say too is starting this week, we'll be going to 2 episodes a week. The season's finally here, so we're going to be doing every Monday and every Friday. Should be posted, I'd say like noon time, 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday, Eastern time. So 2 episodes a week now that the season's finally here. I'm recording this on a Sunday night. Basketball starts in the morning, 8 a.m., first game. I cannot wait. So with that being said, let's get into the episode. All right, first game up on the list. The game is at 7 o'clock tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN+. I highly recommend if you are a fan of this conference to get ESPN+, because it seems like 90% of the games will be on there. So first game up on the list, we got Western New England University versus Vermont. Western New England is a D3 school. They're coming off their best season in history. It's their first time playing a D1 school since 2022. In 2022, when they did play a D1 school, they played Sacred Heart, and they lost by 41. They have 10 returning players from last season's team. What I've gotten written down is this would be one of the biggest upsets of all time in college basketball history. If Western New England were able to beat Vermont, it would be a huge shocker to open the year. But I have perfect game for the players that won't play much this season for Vermont. The people that are only getting into the game when Vermont's up by 25 or down by 25. So this will be that type of game for them. Really not much to break down here. Vermont should win this game pretty easily. There's no spread for this game yet. I imagine they probably won't be a spread. But if I had to guess, probably Vermont minus 39.5. And I would probably hammer that because D1 versus D3, whole brand new league when you're a D3 player going up against D1 players. So Vermont, I'm going to say they win by 40 points. Nobody's going to be able to stop TJ Hurley, TJ Long. I imagine they're going to be up by so much early that TJ Long and TJ Hurley are not even going to play that much. So I'll for sure tune into this game to catch little bits and pieces, but for sure won't be my main focus on tomorrow night's games. So Vermont by 40 is my prediction. All right, next game up on the list. Another game at 7 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN+. We got Rivier, I want to say is how you say it, Rivier College versus UMass Lowell. Rivier College is also a D3 school. They went 14-12 last season, 5 returning players. They played UMass Lowell last year, and they lost 115-59. So, but the thing is with UMass Lowell, so I watched the America East Media Days last week. I think it was last week. And they were interviewing Coach Duquette. And Jeff Goodman he was like, I think Duquette was talking, or maybe Goodman was about to ask a question, but he had to look down at his notes. And Duquette started laughing. He's like, I noticed you look down at your notes. I've had to do that a lot already this season just to see who's on the squad. So, I mean, if that tells you anything about the confidence level that Duquette has in this team right now, I mean, it's very slim. He said the first, opening night, of preseason, summer ball or whatever it is, he said, he had to ask the coach saying, who is on our team. So he said he didn't really know. I don't know if he's really, just talking out of his ass and just making it so everyone doubts them. But right now he said there's really nobody that's sticking out or standing out for his squad so far this year. But it is a D3 school. I will say UMass Lowell, this will be an early indicator to see how the season's going to go. If they are struggling with a D3 school to win, I would say this has to be at least a 20 to 25 point win to feel any sort of confidence about this team. But if they're struggling to win, even if they only win by 12, 14, then it's going to be a long year for UMass Lowell. So, second game on the list, UMass Lowell versus Rivier, 7 p.m. on ESPN+. All right, third game up on the list. Sad because it's the only game for the America East Conference to have a betting spread as of right now anyway. I'm recording this at 9:16 p.m. on the Eastern time on a Sunday night. So, I mean, it is still kind of early. But I was hoping to have, since it was the first game, they've had all off season to come up with betting lines for these games. I was hoping to have more, but this is the only one to have a betting line, so I'll get into that at the end. But it's Bryant versus Siena, and they're playing at 7 p.m. Also, that actually might be wrong. One sec. Let me go check. All right, never mind. I was right. So 7 p.m. ESPN Plus. This will probably be a game that I pay close attention to. I'm definitely going to be flipping back and forth through all the games tomorrow, but this will definitely be one I'll have a close eye on. So Bryant versus Siena. Siena went 14-18 last year. They had a win against Bryant last year. They beat them by 2 in overtime. 4 of their 5 leading scorers returned from last season. They're projected to finish second in the MAAC. They have a couple players on the preseason MAAC conference teams. Justice Schultz, preseason first team, and then Gavin Doty is on the preseason second team. So, yeah, they did beat Bryant last year by 2 in overtime, but Bryant has a totally different looking squad this year. New head coach, a lot of new players on the team. So, Siena has the highest expectations, preseason expectations since 2020. A lot of question marks for Bryant this year. Siena is the 8-point favorite at home tomorrow. I said at the beginning of this podcast, when I started it, that I wouldn't bet against, or I wouldn't give out my bet for America, if I was fading a America East school. So I will not be getting a pick out for this, if that tells you anything. But Siena -8 for tomorrow, 7 p.m. on ESPN+. The first look at Bryant's new squad, how they're going to play under Coach Christian. So looking forward to this game. Cannot wait. All right, next game up on the list, the game I'll definitely be watching the most out of all the games tomorrow. I'll say that. This one and another one that's at 8 o'clock. I was hoping there'd be a spread for this already, but there's not currently while I record this. But depending on the spread, how big it is, I probably will be taking Binghamton to cover. This game is Binghamton versus Syracuse. So if Binghamton's in the range of let's say plus 21, plus 22, anything higher than 21, I think I'm going to take Binghamton to cover that. Syracuse went 14-19 last year. They have 2 returning starters. Their coach is on the hot seat, Coach Autry, I think is how you say it. Syracuse is trying to get back to those days of being elite, the days they had with Boeheim. They haven't been the same since he's left. I mean, even in the final years with Boeheim, they weren't really that good either. But Carmelo Anthony's son, Keon, is on Syracuse this year, so that'll be another thing to look out for this game is to see how he does in his college debut. It's cool that he's going to the same school that his dad did. But Syracuse has 6 players from the transfer portal, 5 recruits. They have had 2 preseason games so far. First game was a win over Buffalo. They beat them by 10. 9 different players scored. Nathan George had 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. And Tyler Betsy led the team with 14 points. And William Kyle had 10 points and 9 rebounds. And then their second win, they played a school called Pace College or Pace University. I think it was a D2 school or a D3. They kind of struggled with Pace. First half, they were only up by 2. But they ended up winning the game by 18. Donnie Freeman led with 22 points and 9 rebounds. But defensive battle for most of the game. But then the second half, they came alive. They shot 61% in the second half. And they also went on a 22-1 run. And they had 44 out of the 75 points came into the paint, which is kind of unheard of nowadays in today's basketball with everything being all revolved around the three-point line. So Syracuse, I've definitely watched Syracuse games these last 2 years, but I'm not sure if they still play that 2-3 zone like Boeheim used to always have them play. But Binghamton, like I said, plus 21 or higher. I think I'm going to take that spread. I think Binghamton can cover it. Demetrius Lilly, cannot wait to watch him play. I had him ranked, I'm forgetting now, but he's definitely in my top 3 on the top 10 players in the conference list. So cannot wait to watch Demetrius Lilly play tomorrow. So Binghamton, Syracuse, 7 p.m. This one is on ACC Network Extra, which I think is pretty much just the equivalent as ESPN Plus. So if you have ESPN Plus, you should be able to get this game, but don't quote me on that. But Binghamton versus Syracuse. All right, next game up on the list, another game on ESPN Plus, and also starting at 7 o'clock. I don't think I'll be tuning into this game that much just because I have such low expectations for this squad. But it's New Hampshire. They're playing against Clemson. Clemson's just always been a tough place to play at. So New Hampshire, low expectations for them this year. A lot of preseason magazines have been ranking them to finish last in the conference. So the only upside is Clemson, 27-7 last year, but have 0 returning starters, and not a lot of players returning from the bench either. So Clemson's a totally different looking team this year. They have a lot of transfers though. They have a lot of college experience though. So Chase Hunter's brother Dylan now is the starting point guard. Chase Hunter averaged, I think, 17 points, somewhere around there for Clemson last year, their best player. So now his brother takes over the backcourt. A lot of question marks for Clemson, but I've written down they should be able to handle New Hampshire pretty easily. Not sure what the spread would be on this, but if I had to guess, it's going to be like 26.5, 27.5 in favor of Clemson. And I don't know if I'll take Clemson or not. I think I'm just not going to bet this game. It's too hard to predict with Clemson not having really anybody from their team last year returning, and then New Hampshire is just not a good team at all. So I'm going to take no bet on this. New Hampshire versus Clemson, 7 p.m., ESPN Plus. If you're a New Hampshire fan, you're probably hating this podcast because pretty much anytime I've talked about the school, I've kind of shit on the team. So that's my apologies, but it's just not really looking like a good year for New Hampshire. But, hey, they can prove me wrong, and I can admit when I'm wrong, and I'll say, hey, I'm a fucking idiot. New Hampshire is really good this year. So that could be one situation for this season. So New Hampshire versus Clemson, 7 p.m., ESPN Plus. All right, so this next game, I have bias towards because I'm a fan of them. But this game and Binghamton versus Syracuse will be the two games I'm mostly focused on for tomorrow night. But at 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus, sadly won't be able to bet this game because I live in Maine. But it's Maine versus George Washington. So after doing research for this game, depending on the spread, so I can't bet it, but this might be a bet I might tweet out on the account. I think I am just going to go against what I said earlier this year about, never giving out a pick. If it's, as long as, the only way I was going to give out a pick is if I'm betting on an America East school to cover or to win. But I think I'm going to go against that, depending on the spread of this game, because if George Washington is only, favored by, let's say, 11.5, 12.5, I would take George Washington's because George Washington, highest expectations in 10 years. They went 21-13 last year. They have 4 starters returning. 2 players are on the Lindy's Atlantic 10 preseason all-conference teams. And 4 players are on the Atlantic 10, the own conference, what the conference puts out for their opinion on the preseason all-conference teams. So there's 4 players of that. They have Rafael Castro, best player on the team, double-double machine. He averaged 14 points and 9 rebounds last year. 11 players on the team with at least 1 season of college basketball experience. Team is one of only 4 teams in the country to have 9 players on a roster to have started 20 or more games at the D1 level. So George Washington, didn't know really much about them before I did research into this game. Now, after reading who's on their team this year, George Washington is going to be a very tough game for Maine to open up the year. Maine also did lose I think they lost 4 out of 5 starters from last year. So a lot for Maine to replace. Will we see any of Ace Flag tomorrow night? Not totally sure what his role is yet. So this will be a good indicator to see if he gets any solid minutes, if he gets in the game when it's close, or is he just a bench player that gets in when Maine's down by 20, or maybe Maine goes up by 20, surprisingly. But, yeah, I got George Washington, depending on the spread, probably to cover this. But once again, like I said, it's depending on the spread. If it's very high up, then I might consider taking Maine or giving out the play to take Maine. I can't bet it myself. Unless you guys are one of these listeners that can be a bookie for me, then hit my line. But Maine versus George Washington, I'll be watching this game tomorrow, 8 p.m., ESPN+. Let's go, Maine. On to the next game. All right, next game up on the list. Also starts at 8 p.m. on ESPN+. All right, that one might be wrong too. Let me go check real quick. All right, so I was right on that, 8 p.m. on ESPN+. I didn't know since Marquette's in the Big East if they were going to be on Fox Sports 1 or not, because I know on opening night, FS1 does the Big East games where they just go through all of them. So, but Albany versus Marquette, 8 p.m. on ESPN+. Marquette went 23-11 last year. They lost their best player, Cam Jones, who's now in the NBA. Their 3 top scorers from last year are all gone. 0 players added from the transfer portal, so that's a rare occasion nowadays in college basketball. They have 2 returning starters. A lot of players that returned last year that either barely played or just didn't play at all. So Coach Smart's looking for those players to step into a bigger role for this year. And he's also looking for some of the recruits to come in and play a key role on the team right away. Marquette was ranked 4th in the preseason Lindy's Big East poll. No spread for this game yet. Albany should be a lot better than they were. I shouldn't say a lot better, but they should be better than they were last year, 17-16. Will Richardson transferred from Fordham. He's looking to be one of their best players. Amir Lindsay, I would say, is their best player. He was on the America East all-rookie team last year. He averaged 6 points per game, but Coach Killings is very high up on him. So Amir Lindsey, definitely their best player. Depending on the spread, if I had to guess, Marquette's probably going to be favored by like 24.5, 25.5. I'm not totally sure where I'd lean on that. But if I see like Albany like plus 29.5 or higher, I'm for sure going to take Albany spread. But anything lower than that, probably just not going to bet it at all because I think Marquette could probably cover that line. So Marquette, Albany, big fan of Shaka Smart. But I'll be rooting for Albany for this game. 8 o'clock. Let's go Albany. On to the next game. All right, next game up is on Tuesday night. I definitely did not look at the time before I hit start recording again, so I'll be right back once again. All right, so this game starts at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night on ESPN+. Not really much of a breakdown here. It's Penn State York, so not Penn State University, Penn State York versus UMBC. D2 school, Penn State York is. They're 18-13 last year, and they have 8 returning players. But other than that, UMBC should handle Penn State York pretty easily. I'm pretty pumped to watch Ace Valentine, Josh Ununwo, and Devin Caesar. I did call them the big three for UMBC. I'm not sure who will start, Ace Valentine or Devin Caesar. They might both start. But I'm very excited to watch Josh Ununwo. I've seen a lot of preseason hype for him. I ranked him second on my top 10 players list. So, yeah, I have written down UMBC by 30+. I imagine there's going to be no spread for this game either. But UMBC, easy win to open the season. All right, the last game of for the first games for each team, the last one. It's also on Tuesday night. It's at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. We got NJIT versus Fordham. Fordham's got a new head coach this year. Excuse me. And they went 12-21 last year. Both top scorers are gone. One player returns from last year. Team filled with a bunch of transfers. 6 international players. They ranked 13th in the preseason Lindy's Atlantic 10 poll. So Lindy's is definitely not high up on Fordham. They got DeJour Reeves. He's pretty cool. I guess not cool, but pretty interesting. So he's starting point guard this year, and he's never played point guard once in his career. So that kind of tells you how Fordham's team is going to go this year when you got a point guard that's never played it before. But, hey, Reeves could prove me wrong. But I have written down that if they were playing Vermont instead of NJIT, I actually think Vermont would beat Fordham. But NJIT, definitely not on the same level as Vermont and not on the same level as Fordham. I'm not sure what the spread would be for this game, but I don't think it would be particularly too high. If I had to guess, it would be like Fordham minus 15.5, and I don't think I'd have a pick for that. But because once again, just low expectations for NJIT. I got them finish 8th in the conference for my preseason poll. So not much hype for them. But last game up on the list. So now I'm going to rank 1 through 9 who I think is most likely to win their first game of the year. All right, so ranking most likely to win their first game of the year to then least likely. So coming in, I think anyone could have said this too, but I'm saying Vermont is the most likely team in the conference to win their first game. They're going against West New England University, a D3 school. I shouldn't have to say any more than that. Number 2, to most likely win, I got UMBC going against Penn State York. Number 3, I got UMass Lowell going against Rivier College, also a D3 school. So even though UMass Lowell does not have much hype going into the year. They should be able to handle Rivier. If not, a lot of problems for UMass Lowell. And then 4 through 9, well, I guess not really 4 through 9, but I'd say like the 4 through 6, this was pretty tough to rank for most likely. But coming in at number 4 for the most likely to win their first game, I took Bryant to win over Siena. I don't think it will happen, but out of the other teams and who they have to play, I'd say Bryant definitely has a better chance than the other teams remaining to win their first game. But once again, Bryant, totally different looking team than they were last year when they won the championship. And then number 5, most likely team to win their first game, I took UMaine to win over George Washington. But once again, just not really confident in that at all. George Washington's looking like they're going to be a pretty solid team this year. Number 6, I got NJIT to beat Fordham. Just not high up on NJIT, but definitely think they have a better chance than these remaining schools to win their first game. Number 7, I took Binghamton over Syracuse. Binghamton, if you're going to tell me one of those schools to have a major upset out of the teams they're facing, I would for sure say Binghamton. Syracuse, too early to tell on them, but just how they've been these last few years, one of those schools you play them early before they're used to all their plays, before they're used to playing with each other. You get them early, there's a chance you can pull off the upset. And then number 8, I took Albany over Marquette. I'd give them like a 3% chance of that actually happening. And then the team least likely to win their first matchup, and I'm knocking on them again, it's New Hampshire Wildcats to beat Clemson. No chance in hell, in my opinion. New Hampshire's just not a good team. Clemson, tough place to play. Clemson, this is the type of game for Clemson where, you could go party the whole night before, come back to your dorm room or your apartment at 4 a.m., get 4 hours of sleep, take a body light, or not a body light, what the hell is a body light? Pedialyte, and be ready to go to play a team like New Hampshire. But hey, that's a lot of shit talk for New Hampshire. So New Hampshire, prove me wrong, and I'll admit that I'm wrong. But so that was the list of ranking each team's chances for them to win their first game. So that will be the episode 5, breaking down the team's first games. So we will be back on Friday, and I'll be breaking down the games for the weekend. I haven't checked that slate yet. I'm just happy college basketball is back. There's so many games on for tomorrow. Not a lot of great ones, but I'm just happy to see college basketball back. I'm such a big basketball fan that you could throw on any game. I'm going to find some type of interest in it. So, to end this episode, I'm going to end with clapping again, just because how fired up I am for the season to be back. So if you're listening to end this episode, let's give a nice 5-second clap to end the episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. If you watched on there, make sure to make sure to subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your grandparents, share it with your brother, share it with your dad, share it with your sister, share it with your mother. Anyway, thank you for listening or watching this episode. College basketball, we're back!